Chapter 18. Deus Dedit, Deus Dabit. Paris, 1786. He didn't want to face the bitter winds outside, nor the harsh consequences that were inevitably forthcoming. But he had overstayed his welcome in the Academia kitchen, and he couldn't sit in a frozen courtyard all day. He took a deep breath and walked out the door. He shuddered as the icy air filled his lungs. Snow fell steadily as he hailed a carriage. "Where to?" the cab driver asked, his horse nickering softly. "The recruitment offices, at the Hôtel de la Guerre," Thomas replied, his voice catching slightly in the frigid air. "The Ministry of War?" The driver arched an eyebrow. "That'll be 2 livres." Thomas nodded and reached into his coat. "In advance," the driver said snidely. Even dressed in his wedding finest, people rarely trusted that Thomas could pay. Normally, he'd hand over an extra livre just to spite them. But he couldn't afford the luxury now. He handed the driver 2 coins and climbed hastily into the fiacre. The warmth of the carriage was a welcome reprieve. The hotel was large, but unassuming from the outside, apart from its double-door stone entrance with intricately carved white pillars. At the top of each side were busts of ancient Roman soldiers. The archway featured a beautifully carved marble crown, reminding the army who they were sworn to serve. He pushed open the double doors and walked inside. The interior was grand, with pilasters and ornate windows. He approached the recruitment offices near the front of the building and walked up to the clerk who was reading behind his desk. He didn't notice the new recruit until Thomas cleared his throat to get the man's attention. The clerk peered over the edge of his book with apprehension. "May I help you?" "I'm here to enlist, sir," Thomas said. He stood as tall as he could, but for some reason he felt unrealistically infantile. "Name?" The clerk dipped a quill in ink and readied his parchment. "Thomas Alexandre." He paused. If he didn't use his father's name, he was nothing. "David de la Pailletterie, heir of the Marquis Antoine David de la Pailletterie." He didn't want to enter the military at a low rank. He needed the money, and for that, he needed his nobility. The clerk hesitated. "Pailletterie?" His eyes flickered over Thomas with curiosity. "Do you have your papers?" Thomas blinked. "What papers?" "Your proof of 4 generations of nobility." Thomas shifted. "I didn't know I would need them. What difference does it make?" "Well," the clerk began awkwardly. "Forgive me, I'm a bit of a progressive. Under normal circumstances, I'd take the word of a gentleman. But the law's quite clear. Without the proper papers, there's no way around the Code Noir." Merde. To get those papers, he would need to face his father. A part of him hoped he could enlist without ever returning to that house. He could simply join the army and leave today. But the world didn't work like that. "Could you make an exception?" Thomas asked, trying to mask the desperation from his voice. "Many people could vouch for me. Nobles. Would the Chevalier de Saint-Georges work? I am certain he would speak on my behalf." The clerk shook his head. "Without the papers, there's nothing I can do. I'm an excellent swordsman, second to none. I'm good on horseback and with a pistol." Thomas' voice cracked as he tried to convince the man. "I know," the clerk said. "I have heard of you. Come back tomorrow with documentation of your lineage, and I will do my best to get you an officer's commission." His heart sank. "Of course," Thomas said. "I'll return in the morning." He took the long route home. His feet wandered miles off course, weaving through the streets with no particular direction. Snow fell softly, but not even the biting cold could speed Thomas' return. He feared facing his father, and yet he had no other choice. As he drifted through the quiet city, he rehearsed his speech as the snow silently blanketed the world around him. Eventually, he found himself standing before the steps of their home. He had only mounted a single step before his nerve slipped away once more. Without a word, he sank onto the steps, allowing the snow to pile on his shoulders. Time blurred as he sat there, struggling to summon the courage to venture inside. It wasn't until the door swung open behind him, thudding against his back, that he snapped out of his trance. He grunted in pain and glanced up sharply. Lepeau stood over him, eyes wide with surprise. "Thomas Alexandre, forgive me. I didn't realize you were there," the butler said, embarrassed. "No, Lepeau, it's my fault. I shouldn't be sitting out here." Thomas paused. "Is my father in?" "He and the mistress are in the drawing room," Lepeau replied. His tone was polite, but Thomas could sense his disdain when he mentioned Marie Retou. "Would you like me to bring you something to eat? You missed supper," Lepeau offered. "I don't think I could stomach it, but thank you." Lepeau studied him for a moment. "Are you all right, sir?" "Honestly, Lepeau, I have no idea. I am suddenly realizing that I am not as brave as I have always thought myself to be." Bravery is a thorny thing. In my experience, people often think they are being brave when they are simply being impetuous, Lepeau said. Thomas smirked. "Like at the theater." "The theater was child's play. This? Well, the merit of all things lies in their difficulty, sir," Lepeau replied. Thomas let the words echo against the icicles dangling from the overhang. "I've spent years living as a selfish fool, and now I'm paying for it. I don't know whether I'm more angry with my father or myself, and yet I recognize how unjust it is to even feel this way, given how comfortable my life has been." Lepeau regarded him thoughtfully. "Does the open wound in another's breast soften the pain of the gaping wound in our own? Or does the blood which is welling from another man's side staunch that which is pouring from our own? No. Each suffers on his own account. Each struggles with his own grief. Each sheds his own tears." A small chuckle escaped Thomas. "When did you become a poet, Lepeau?" "I went to school once, sir," Lepeau smiled. "You are the second unexpected sage I've encountered today," Thomas replied. "And yet, I still wrestle, selfishly, at what I must do next. I feel powerless, like no matter what decision I make, I will drown. I don't know if I can do it." Pain, anguish, and suffering in human life are always in proportion to the strength with which a man is endowed. We will not pretend to say that heaven always apportions to a man's capability of endurance the anguish with which he afflicts him. Suffering is in proportion to the strength which he has been accorded. In other words, the weak suffer more where the trial is the same than the strong, Lepeau offered quietly. "Do you believe me weak or strong, Lepeau?" Thomas asked. "That's a question only you can answer, sir," Lepeau replied. "This would be much easier if you just told me what to do," Thomas said with a heavy exhale. "Thank you, Lepeau. I've always appreciated how you don't ask too many questions." "Those who ask no questions are the best comforters," he said with a smile. "But if I may, I'd like to impart you with a piece of wisdom that my father passed to me." "And what is that?" Thomas asked curiously. "Never fear quarrels, but seek hazardous adventures," Lepeau said sportingly. Then he walked inside the house. Thomas sighed, then rose and followed Lepeau. The warmth enveloped him as he cautiously made his way toward the drawing room. For a newly married man, his father looked utterly miserable. Antoine sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, despite the roaring fire that made the room feel sweltering. His face was pale and his eyes were tired. He looked up from his gazette at the figure of his prodigal son standing silhouetted in the doorway. It's some nerve walking in here after ruining my wedding, Antoine said, his voice icy and full of contempt. I know, Father, and I'm sorry for it, Thomas replied quickly. Please understand, I was only thinking about Mother and— Shut up, you ungrateful boy, Antoine barked, his voice rising sharply before he wheezed. He was clearly unwell. Perhaps the day's festivities and tension had taken their toll. He wasn't young anymore. For the first time, Thomas felt a flicker of guilt as he looked at his father, who seemed a shell of the man he had seen just hours ago. The firelight exaggerated the lines on Antoine's aged face, making his eyes and cheeks appear sunken. I don't expect you to forgive me, Thomas began slowly. Forgive you, Antoine spat. That's an audacious presupposition. I am done with you. You may sleep here tonight, but by morning, I want you out. I will be, Father, I promise, Thomas said, his tone subdued. I intend to join the Queen's cavalry, but I need papers to prove my nobility. Do you? Antoine's eyes narrowed. Yes. I need to prove 4 generations of noble lineage to secure an officer's commission, Thomas replied cautiously. After today's little stunt, you actually think I'd give that to you? Tell me, what name did you use? Mine? Antoine's voice cracked with bitter amusement. Thomas fell silent. For several long moments, neither spoke. Antoine finally broke the silence, his voice cold. I'll give you the papers under one condition. Name it, Father, anything, Thomas replied eagerly. Apologize to my wife. Grovel at her feet and beg her forgiveness, Antoine said sternly. Thomas froze, staring at his father. I can't, he said weakly. I promised I would never again. It's a simple thing, Thomas. If you want those papers, you grovel. Father, this is the last thing I will ever ask of you, Thomas begged. If you just give me the papers, I will be gone by morning. I will make you proud. Antoine scoffed. Fine. If not proud, at least I will be the military's problem and no longer your own. Do you not understand what you did today? Antoine shot back. You sullied us. Your behavior was not befit a marquis. You will not be inheriting this land or my money, and you are no longer welcome to my name. But Father, no, Thomas, I don't care what name you choose, but you will take a nom de guerre. I am finished letting you drag my reputation through the mud. You will enter the military as a nobody. Hopefully, you will finally learn some respect. Take a small allowance to get you through the next few days, but I don't want to see you again. Find an inn, but I will not be giving you— He began to wheeze. His chest heaved as he gasped for air. Father? For a brief moment, worry eclipsed Thomas' ire. He stepped forward to help, but Antoine waved him away angrily. After several agonizing minutes, Antoine regained his composure and, with a dismissive flick of his hand, turned his chair to face away from Thomas. He reopened his newspaper as if nothing had happened. Thomas stared at him for a moment. A wave of conflicting emotions flooded through him. Then he turned around, silently, and trudged towards his bedroom. His hopes of enlisting as an officer were gone. The bed felt cold and unfamiliar as he stared at the ceiling for sleepless hours. He took his leave before dawn and, after stopping to leave his trunks at a local inn, he made his way to the Hôtel de la Guerre. Without papers, his skin became the only mark of his rank. He picked up the quill and began to write his name on the rosters of the 6th Regiment of the Queen's Dragoons. Thomas Alexandre Dumas, son of Marie Cosette Dumas. Rank, private. Deus Dedit, Deus Dabit, Thomas whispered as he handed the quill back to the clerk. What does that mean? The clerk asked. God takes, God gives. I think it's my motto at this point, Thomas said sarcastically. Within days, he received his first assignment. He would be leaving Paris. He had lost everything. But for the first time in his life, he finally felt free. 13 days later, Antoine David de la Pailletterie died.